wayward spirit beckons. I shall name you Foundling, and you may call me Sister Janessa.
I've been reviewing games a little bit more often, so I kind of got a good cadence going on. So the three pillars that we're going to be focused on today are the story / the lore. Which one do I start? There we go. Combat / gameplay, and then progression. Mortal Shell has done something special to me and the Souls genre, man. I'm not a veteran to this genre by any means, but ever since we were blessed, we had the privilege, right, to play the greatest game of our lifetime, a game called Bloodborne. You probably knew where I was already going to go with that. I've been gradually building my Souls-like resume and understanding the genre. And unlike Code Vein, which is probably one of the more recent Souls-like genres games, this one is a lot more true to the OG, right? But it still managed to feel very unique and bring some very cool ideas to the table. Please note, man, this game was made by 15 people and it's actually only $30, right? So I watched a review and the guy really didn't put that into perspective, and I don't think that's right. So with that being said, I personally, after playing Mortal Shell, I have Bloodborne over Mortal Shell. Obviously, it's not possible. But then I have Mortal Shell over Sekiro. Now, this is my personal opinion. I really love Sekiro. Like, let's not even get it twisted. I love Sekiro, but that's how I feel. And then I got Sekiro over Dark Souls. If you're a Bloodborne before Dark Souls player, right, you were introduced by Bloodborne like I was, you have a high likely chance of liking Mortal Shell.
In the wilds, we forgot our teachings and fell in with brigands. They mixed droplets of tar with muddy spirits and made no promises of salvation. We drank heartily, stumbling from one camp to the next. We rotted like joyous animals in the filth.
So we're going to start this off with something that I didn't realize was a big factor as to why I really got hooked and began loving Bloodborne, the greatest game that we've ever been graced on this earth. It was my first Souls, like I think I mentioned, and the idea of just walking around and just being so confused and that gradual learning, it just felt magical, and Mortal Shell was able to capture just that aspect. But let me expand. Dark Souls to me started off too slow, and I was too confused, right? That plus the atmosphere itself, not as enticing as Bloodborne or Mortal Shell for that fact, right? I don't know. I just didn't feel that interested in it. So when I was confused, it was more annoying than a magical feeling. That and the weapons were just dead boring, but we'll get into that during the gameplay section. So what I love about Mortal Shell is how it shares this idea of, you don't know what's going on in the game. That same with Bloodborne, but like it's not too crazy to where you can't kind of begin putting the puzzle pieces together. The setting is tame, but it's also weird. Weirdly tame. Not funny? Right. You inhibit shells of fallen soldiers, and through the progress of exploring the world and upgrading their abilities, you kind of learn more about them. From this point on, I began making some assumptions based off what I was seeing, right? I like to think I was understanding the lore, but for all you care, I could be completely off. But that's the fun part about it. Each respective area represents the shells, or persons, I guess we could just call them, their respective location of origin. Their abilities and their weapons, subjectively, complement what kind of enemies you're going to be fighting in that area. The thing is with the weapons, right? You conveniently seem to run into them right before you're about to dive into an area. So from there, I began making my assumptions. I'm like, okay, I think this was his weapon of choice whenever he was, during the time that he was alive. And from there, now in this area, I'm trying to find pieces of lore, trying to understand this guy's origins, understand this guy's world, whatever it may be. See what's going on here, though? Like, I played, obviously, I beat Mortal Shell. I haven't beaten the Dark Souls game, but I've played a decent chunk of Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3. Not 3 so much, but regardless, I still cannot tell you a single thing that happened. Bloodborne, it's more of a 50%. Like, I have a very good general idea, but the specifics aren't that clear, right? But again, the atmosphere was interesting enough to me that I had to, consult my boy Vaddy Vidya so I could learn more. I will be playing New Game Plus, right? There is actually a decent amount that I did miss, just based off what I was seeing and things that I didn't learn. So I have things to do, and I can't wait to get back into this game. Another fantastic job by the Mortal Shell team, bro. Oh my God. From the beta, from that point, man, I knew they had something magical, something unique, something different, yet still feels familiar going on. It's the truest thing to the Souls-like genre, yet the most unique take that I've ever seen. It's the closest thing, yet they found a way to be unlike it. I don't even get it. I told my friend, I said, it's on some Sekiro 2 tries, but Dark Souls aura / atmosphere, plus Bloodborne weapon uniqueness, plus something else with abilities. This shit gas. And he told me that description gave him a headache. So let me refine that. If you think about it, the main point of the game is inhabiting someone else's show. So with that in mind, it kind of connects to the whole gameplay aspect. If you lose all of your health, you get knocked out of your shell, but you have the chance to get back into it. The cool part is once you get back into it, you have your full health. But let it be known, it's not always smooth. I swear these enemies get a bit more aggressive when you get knocked out, and I've gotten yeeted back to heaven so many times on boss fights, on just mob fights, just trying to get back to my shell, and then BOW! It's a tragic feeling. The other big pillar of the gameplay is the ability to harden. It replenishes every few seconds just automatically, and it really adds something to this gameplay. It really changes how you approach things. You can harden.
That's what she said.
Enough. At any time, mid attack, mid roll, anytime, at all, anything, whatever you're doing, just press R2. And with that, right, the game is mapped around these two pillars, right, the hardening aspect and the second try because you get hit out of it. But I have a hard time pinpointing in terms of pacing where this one lies, right? We all know Dark Souls 1, 2, I would say, are slower. 3 speeds it up. Bloodborne is the fastest out of all of them, right? For this one, I feel like it's in the middle. Sometimes it feels slower, sometimes it feels faster. So I don't really know. But one thing for certain is it is very unforgiving, right? And I think that's where the hardening aspect comes into play. Additionally, you're given a counter move, and if you progress further, this actually does turn into like more of a damage dealing counter and some other interesting things that I won't talk about, but it's pretty cool. But the thing is, naturally, it is meant to be a main source of healing for you. There's a meter called Resolve that replenishes as you do damage. The trick here is that you need that Resolve in order for the counter to actually heal you, right? The counter can, without the Resolve, it just is a simple counter. So think about that. This now forces you to be aggressive when you're trying to heal. Risky, man. Put all these features together, and you're given a combat system that really, truly requires stamina management and patience. I didn't even tell you the craziest part. This game doesn't really have healing items. Like, it has, I think, 3 total. Now, next catch is they don't actually just give you a set amount of health. It's all gradual healing. What is it? It's like 25 health over 10 seconds. 25 health is nothing, if you didn't know. So you really have no chance, you know, if you're about to die, need to heal real quick, that's not an option. You just gotta take the hit, harden. If you don't gotta harden, well, you're shit out of luck. Moving on, the shells are the name of the game, right? The game's called Mortal Shell, so pretty obvious. But with that, there is no early game stat allocation confusion to worry about, nor an abnormal amount of dull and boring weapons, okay? Or shells, or weapons. All saws. Something else that really makes me put Bloodborne over Dark Souls is the depth versus the width of the weapons. I don't need a lot of weapons, man, to make me happy. Right? Give me a few, make them unique. And Mortal Shell does that. Theoretically, you can use any shell plus weapon combination that you personally prefer, but some weapons just work well and better with specific shells. Each shell is drastically different, and the shell plus the abilities you unlock complements a certain playstyle, not so much forces. And then you add in the actual weapon that you want to use with that shell, and now you got to understand how to come correct, right? You can't be too aggressive with Aaron and having a heavy blade, but it would work. You know, there's other benefits from it. So, wow, this game is so good. Talk more specifically about the weapons themselves. They all feel very unique. I think the biggest part of them is the way that the combos are pretty smooth and easy to kind of, figure out and find one that works for every situation, and maybe just one that you like the most. There's not one weapon that I disliked per se. I think I favored the heavy weapon and then the basic weapon you get at the very start. I like those a lot, but still the other ones were very fun to use. And as I explained, I tried to use the shell and weapon combination that I was given at the start of each area. It felt right, it felt like I was following the lore, the story of how it should go. So that's what I wanted to do. So I made sure I tried out all of them and used all of them. Both shells and weapons. I mean, I've been talking so good about this game, right? The only negatives that I can think about is the bugs, glitches, weird stuff that happened. But like I mentioned at the very start, $30, 15 people. I don't care. Like that shit. Now, I did get a little stressed sometimes when it was really some bullshit happening, but it didn't happen that much. And I can just overlook it, man. You know what I mean? Overall, the game is still very smooth, so I have no complaints. So for this one, this is the last one. This is like an interesting addition, right? It's really Dark Souls related that I would be talking about this in a review. Not a ton to say, but I do have some things that I was noticing in the game that really stood out and was cool to me that I want to talk about. Overall, Mortal Shell does a very good job at giving you that feeling of progression, right? The biggest difference between the progression of this game and the other Souls game is there is no fast travel, right? You gotta go everywhere on foot. Mind you, right, the world isn't terribly big, but it's not small by any means. Personally though, bro, I got lost. So that might have took up like a couple hours of my game time. But I've noticed, I've learned. I mean, in real life, I already got a horrible sense of direction, and through streaming, I've been notified that it's also in games. So might just be me. There's like 2 to 3 ways to get everywhere, right? Like I would end up somewhere and be like, wait, that's where I was supposed to enter from, you know? So that was cool though, right? It was intriguing how I could kind of go very odd places and still end up where I need to be. So that whole feeling, and I really began understanding the map of the world as well. So they did a really good job with that, man. The new piece that they added, item progression, right? You start off by not knowing what an item does. You guys probably saw this in the beta, and if you use that item enough, it actually gets new abilities, changes what it actually does to you. So that was interesting to see. At first it was annoying, but then whenever I started getting benefits from using the items more, that's when it got kind of cool. I'm like, all right, now what's this item gonna do, whenever I max it out? So very cool. And lastly, the length, right? 4 shells to find, 4 weapons to acquire, 8-ish bosses. I don't know if that's the exact number. I don't want to give you an exact number so you don't know. But I clocked in at 17 hours and like 32 minutes, something like that. And that was me trying, right? Attempting to find everything and failing. As a whole, I only got 1 weapon's 2 abilities. Every weapon has 2 abilities that you got to find. I only found 1 weapon's, both of them. For every other weapon, I only found 1. So right then and there, I need to go look for those so I can try them out. And then overall, I know I missed some other things. So there's a lot to be had, a lot to be done in another play. Biggest part about this as well is like nothing felt dragged on. Everything went pretty smooth. So really no complaints about the length or anything like that. And again, 15 people, $30, man. Who's going to complain? 17 hours? Wait a second. Some single player games are shorter than that. AAA. So, bro, buy this game. Buy this game. So if you had to ask me, solid 8 out of 10. If it wasn't for the glitches, I'd give it a 9. But yeah, there are a lot of glitches. Not a lot, but you're definitely going to run into 1 to 2 in your playthrough, no matter what. But again, in my patch it, I'm cutting some slack. 8 out of 10. Other than that, though, that's all I got to say. If you've played it, let me know what you guys think. And if you guys are deciding to pick it up, be sure to leave a comment and let me know if I helped influence your decision. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.